I want to take just a moment to introduce Susanna Baxter from the Independent College Association. She's been with us during the summit, and our colleagues in the independent sector are also engaged in college completion. Susanna, would you stand, please, and let us recognize you? Thank you. Welcome. I would, again, like to thank our staff who have worked tirelessly on the conference. I think all of you can tell that there's been a lot of time and effort put into this, and I, again, want to express appreciation for all that they did. There were a lot of very late nights, a few 2 o'clock in the morning emails flying back and forth, and just a lot of hard work and effort. So, again, appreciation to all the staff, colleagues from across the system, institutions, presenters, all of you that came together to make the last 2 days a success. So sincere appreciation to everybody involved. Thank you very, very much. And finally, Dr. Morgan, would you stand up, please? Mm-hmm. You know, this conference is about completion. And David, as you know, is trying to retire again. He just wasn't very successful at it the first time, but he has been truly just a joy in central office, and he shared with us an article that was in AJC this morning. Was it? Is this right? What you just said? You don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna read a quote from the AJC where he's quoted, but he has just truly been inspirational for all of us. So would you join with us in thanking him? And last but not least, a huge thanks to all of you. And as some of you know, we were on NPR. They were over interviewing yesterday. They were here recording yesterday. And we're in AJC. And I'm not reading the whole AJC article for you because you can get it online, of course. But I think it's appropriate to end this session where we began, which is with students. And this is direct quote. Students also said they want guarantees their credits will transfer when they move from one system to another. Students, Matthew, I don't know how to say his last name, V, it's about like yours, but Matthew recently graduated from Georgia Gwinnett and hopes to go to law school. He said he never liked school, but succeeded because of the attention and support he received from professors. For example, after he missed a class twice, the professor called to see where he was. He said he overslept and would be there tomorrow. She said, "No, you will be here in 20 minutes. He said, "Yes," and I was. While colleges strive to provide this type of support, they must also maintain high standards for what students are expected to learn for a degree, said David Morgan, Interim Chief Academic Officer for the university system. The goal is to design programs that get more students through the pipeline while preparing them for life and the workforce. That's really what we're about. So the question is, what are the next steps? And it's because of you that we will get there. I truly thank you for all that you've done over the last couple of days and all that you're going to do and the leadership that you're going to show moving forward. So a couple of questions, and then Art's going to really take you through some major next steps and opportunities moving forward. Before we left for lunch, we asked you for an email update about where you are. I want to explain that the purpose of that really is to help us get a gauge of where you are right now. So a number of you, Art said his email is flooding in, so I think he has about 20 emails right now. So if you haven't done that, just as clarification, what we want is a gauge of where you are. So just pretend that you're talking to us and give us a sense of where you are right now. So it's an update for us about where you are. We will be emailing you back in terms of any information that we need, but it's just really a status update, so don't belabor that. We don't need, a 5-page treatise or anything. We just really wanted a status update. Next steps. One is that you've heard the number 250,000 additional graduates by the year 2020. What we know is that that number needs to be parsed down, and we need a lot more information about what that needs, and a few of you have asked about that. There will be a group commissioned to get in under that and parse that out with additional information. So we know that needs to happen, and it will. That doesn't mean that there's not a lot of other work that can go on in tandem with that. So we know that needs to happen, and it will. Additionally, as you heard from Tim Rennick, by mid-April we will have the shared metrics, and again I want to thank Tim and the metrics work group. They've done amazing work, and so a big thank you to you, Tim, wherever you are. I know you're around here. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done to lead that. Also by mid-April, April 20th, the next slide. One-page prospectuses will be due to our office. What we want is a one-pager of where you are with your plans. So one page to our office with your plans. We'll need a point of contact with your college completion work. So we'll need to know who the point of contact is when we're reaching back to your offices, and that's your choice, who that person is, but there needs to be a single point of contact for us back to you. One page. You can break that down by the key elements on your guidelines, but a one-page prospectus of where you are with your completion plans. We really suggest with those that you have clear operational objectives. Those need to be tied with metrics and timelines. So those need to be very specific. So by that point, there's a lot of work that needs to happen. So you're going to have a lot of clarity. We're keeping, because if you think about when the faculty's leaving, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So, you know, there's a lot of work. So keep metrics, guidelines, timelines in line with that. Your campus plans are due July 1 to us. We will have responses to you no later than August 1st. We're hoping before then, but no later than August 1st. And plans will be sent to the governor by September 1st. Beyond, of course, there will be implementation and support. Also, Phil and certainly presentations this morning mentioned how we can collaborate together. Be thinking about how you can support each other and work together. Reach out to each other as you're thinking about plans, things you've heard, ways that we can collaborate. Keep thinking about that. Reach back into central office to us. We'll help keep networking. Art's going to talk about additional ways you can do that. Think big. Think beyond the boundaries of your borders. To reach the numbers that we've got to reach, it isn't business as usual. So think big. We will be reaching with faculty development. Linda, Noble, and Mike are aligning faculty development with college completion, so all this is coming together in aligned fashion. The Performance Funding Commission is tying this together. As you've heard, the Chancellor is completely behind this work, so everything is moving forward in very, very aligned fashion. There will be strong system support moving forward. The Adult Learning Consortium Summer Institute, June 17th through 20th. You'll be receiving more word on that from Trish and Mary Ellen. That will be coming to the Vice Presidents for Academic Affairs. Be on the lookout for that. You'll be invited to that. There will be opportunities for faculty development, military outreach, PLA, a lot of work that directly aligns with your campus completion plan. So bottom line is there will be continued opportunities for support moving forward. So with that, I want to turn it over to Art, who will take you through additional support opportunities. So it's my pleasure to reintroduce Art Seavey.
That's the last time you're going to have to hear that today, hopefully. Where's the Gordon College team? Whether or not you knew that email submission was a race, they won by a mile. I don't know how they turned that in so quickly. Oh, and then they left. They're not, no. Just oh, there they are. Okay, okay. It was good quality, too. It wasn't just a short email. So when we talked about students, I joked about 500,000 people and finding an event space for that. Wasn't quite joking. The Georgia Center then referred me to Al Gore, and he referred me to the internet as a potential. So when we did that, we came up with this idea of the USG Completion Lab. Because with this, we need a space that we really can do some kind of creative thinking, structured creative thinking, not frou-frou, painting on the walls, art, whatever. That's great, that has a space for it. It's also my name. It gets confusing. But really structured idea generation, such that when you're meeting at the edges and collaborating, you can come up with new things, you can find new partners and work with each other. So I usually don't talk about technology. I don't really like technology. I know you all don't like my MacBook. That's okay. But this technology that we're using is called Drupal. And it's important because, and I think it's interesting because it started in a dorm room in 2000. Of course, as a college student, when they went to register it, they misspelled the word. They wanted a word that stood for village, kind of connecting people. And they spelled drop instead. So now we have drop, and it's pronounced Drupal. Important about, again, open source platform. And this kind of instills into the spirit of what we want with this lab, in that it's a place to play, a place to contribute, in that this is not something that we're forcing on you on content. This is peer-to-peer stuff that you're supposed to be producing, connecting, working together on. And in that, again, that experimentation idea of pushing the boundaries of the frontiers of what can we do, what can we think about to put into our plans. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of the demo of it, but basically we're going to go through some blogging, a little bit of a forum, an idea pipeline, and a resource library. So you can go to this now. It's up at gacompletionlab.org. We'll send you all an invite, but you can also click to sign up to it. It's just a pretty simple website. We wanted to keep it pretty light. There's a few blog entries right now. There's one on Professor Robots from Rich DeMillo at Georgia Tech. We've got one on the STEM initiative from Kamal Bob, who's the coordinator at the university system, and so on. Christopher Lee, who's been here supporting on Students with Disabilities. He has a great blog on universal design for learning. So great resource for students with disabilities. And then just a little entry from me. What we're going to do is this section is going to be open to the public, and that we need a place for Georgia to really promote itself, for you all to be able to promote yourself, and to have these discussions about completion and what we're doing to kind of push the boundaries on that. So if you want to be a guest blogger, email, we'll figure it out. Keying back into this idea of open source, the feedback tab here, this is a very early kind of iteration of this site, but it's very easy to update and very low cost, free to update. So what functionality you need, what functionality you might want, we can probably do that. Send you feedback. Forum, this one's closed because we need a place that we all can discuss kind of behind a wall without the public necessarily peering in all the time. As Tim mentioned, you can go in, find the USG Metrics Working Group. These are just the preliminary ones that he put up in his presentation, and we're going to be updating these. And just in case there's any flack, we're going to put Tim's picture there, not mine, and change that out once we get his account going. But this is a place, again, where you can go find a forum, do your discussion comments, and really interact that way. An idea pipeline. So again, structured creativity. Here's a sample one, a massive open online course, again from Georgia Tech in that sense. So where's Scott? Scott from West Georgia, you still here? All right, good. Lynn, your phone's ringing. Sorry. So with this, again, this is very, very scalable. What we want to do is have these sort of structured ideas that you can submit. So I love the parking one, because I know as a student I got some parking tickets. Luckily, it did not hold up my registration. But what we want you to do is get into this habit of when you get certain ideas or you have things that you want to promote about your campus, put it in here, get people to see it, and they'll be able to contact you about it. So decouple fines from registration. Is that about right, summing it up? So you put a longer description in here. Again, here comes the structure. So if you can zoom in here. Just a thought and discussion and research. You all are actually have done this. So scaling in a sense. You want others to know about it. If you needed data, if you needed expertise, partners, especially kind of matchmaking in that sense, or if I need, this is just a simple idea that I had, I need others to help me think through this. We want to do that. You can attach a file. We want to know where you're at. So this is happening down at West Georgia. And I'm not sure. There it is. Okay. And of course, tagging. If you haven't seen tagging on blogs, just like categories, just a little more free form. So we're going to talk about fines, registration, completion, although that's kind of redundant. There we go. And a contact field. I messed that up on purpose, kind of. What's your email, Scott? SLINGR at West Georgia? westga.edu. So yeah, you can put other people's email in there, but it's just a contact. You can put a phone number, we can put a website, it's kind of free form like that. So if you have questions about decoupling fines from registration, you can go here to the idea pipeline, find it, contact Scott. And what this is meant to do is that this will scale to thousands upon thousands of ideas if we wanted to. And we hope, and we can, with 40,000 staff and faculty, it should. And just keep going down and down and down. And it's really easy to pick out different campuses, pick out the type of collaboration you want to do, pick it out by tags. So we have universal design for learning, registration, technology, restructuring, delivery, all these things you've been hearing. We can go in and figure out and search for that and find that. So this hopefully will be a pretty cool tool for figuring out what's going on across 35 campuses. And then the basics of a resource library. There's only 2 things up right now. We're going to put all the presentations up. I'm going to work on putting a lot more. But again, open source, we need you to contribute. Very easy, same simple web form. As you saw, it just took a second to submit an idea. It just takes a second to submit a resource. You can put a web link in, tag it, put a file. When you find something, when you're working on your plans, put it up there. If one person puts it up there, if everybody puts it up there, all of a sudden we have 35 times 5 times whoever you extend it to on the campus. You have an amazing resource pretty much overnight that we can use. So we hope you start using that in that sense. And then finally, if you really want to follow us on Twitter, I've been told multiple times nobody uses Twitter, but if you do, please, we're here. And we're going to start distributing that, because again, this is a very good way to help us promote you all and to connect some of your work in case you don't have the time or resources to do that, because we're going to be engaging national partners on this platform to come in and give guest blogs or to read and what's going on, and hopefully we can leverage grant funds out of that long term, other types of expertise and help. Really anything we can do to support you in constructing these plans and the long-term implementation of these plans. And finally, probably the most important thing, when you get the login for this, or if you go and sign up yourself, we want you to complete this summit survey. 5 to 10 minutes, just a simple survey. How effective was it? Each session, was it helpful, was it relevant? And then the biggies down here. We've been talking about policy barriers, policy enablers. This is a great place to put that in here. Let us know. What can we do to support the construction of the plans? What can we do to support the implementation of the plans? What are you interested in? We're going to be looking at forming learning communities around these things, including others. Adult learning, military outreach, continuing that, hooking you up with the great resources that you saw from Mary Ellen yesterday. Distance learning, open educational resources, anything you can think of that we can do and work around. What's important to that? And make sure you hit submit so we can actually get it. So this would be a tool that we are building out more of, again, based on your feedback that we really need and want. And we'll turn this into something that really, again, thinking about it, 5 people here, use it as a tool to engage the rest of your campus. We were talking with some teams about that last night. Get them out there, get them involved with this. They can submit their own ideas. They can see that this is really something going on system-wide. And then from that, you can do the real work of actually putting it into plans, implementing it. But again, this is that experimental, safe place to play and work together on it. Thank you.
Had to do it. So we have a few minutes before our colleagues from TCSG come in, so we would open it up for questions, comments, your thoughts, ideas, next steps that you want to get out while everybody's here. Thoughts? Yes.
If we decided that we wanted to, you mentioned earlier about policy, if we decided that we wanted to move the withdrawal date farther back in the semester, say 12th, 13th week, how do we go about doing that?
Moving the what back? I'm sorry.
The withdrawal date, the date for withdrawal.
So the question was, if you want to move the withdrawal date back in the semester, how do we do that? That's a really good question. This is one of the things, seriously, I mean, all kidding aside, we're going to write a list of policy questions and policy barriers, and that will be high on the list to make sure that that one gets done, because it's a critical one and we need to get it addressed. So thank you. Well, matter of fact, can you scribe that one down? So, okay, thank you. We'll get it on the list. Others? Michael? I think the answer to just about anything is bring it forward as a possibility. So we're not going to stand up here and say nothing is not possible. You heard about what Georgia Southwestern and Georgia Perimeter are doing. You know, our basic thing is bring ideas forward if they make sense, if there's good reason to do it. You know, particularly if there's something with some data to substantiate reason to do it, if there's an evidentiary base, bring it forward. A big part of what you heard over the last couple of days is that we've got to figure out not only how to get people in and retain, but also how to scale some ideas to get larger numbers of students through. So there was a real scaling message here, which is part of what that work is about. So I'd really encourage you to think about ways, and some of that means working, as we keep saying, working together, thinking about system solutions, thinking about things differently. So, you know, yes, and this is where the Completion Lab, blogging some of these ideas and talking about them with each other will be really useful. So really there's nothing that's not open for discussion right now. Right.
In the workforce. Is there any plan in Georgia to have a statewide database like that where we could have that kind of longitudinal tracking?
Chris Furland is in the back and coming up. While he's walking, I'll give you the short answer, and he will run if I start giving the short answer. That'll get him up here fast.
The University System of Georgia currently has a contract with the National Student Clearinghouse, and so if you want to submit us a file where we can work together and we can figure out what to do for dropout files, we can track your students through the clearinghouse so that way you can see where they go. So we can work off of whether it's iPads years or just dropout years or anything like that. We just need to define it. And you guys are more than welcome to email me at chris.furland@usg.edu, and we can work this out and try to get some data. So you have more than enough data. Oh, and Lynn just reminded me, we are building a state longitudinal data system. All 7 agencies are working together. It's through Race to the Top and the old IES-2. It's going to be built by June, but we're not going to be reporting out of it until the following year? Until June 2013. But again, that's just going to be within the state, so we can track our students to TCSG or to the Georgia Independent Colleges, but not out of state. And you might want to track your students out of state for certain purposes. Can I run back now?
And the ultimate idea is on into the workforce, but that's a dream. So all this other is reality, and the other is we're hoping to get funds to do. The other is fund dependent, but all this other is reality. Okay. Yes. Thank you. So the question was working with K-12 to reduce the need for learning support. As we speak right now, Chancellor Huckabee is in a meeting, the Alliance of Education Agency Heads, which includes John Barge, the state superintendent, and the agenda of that meeting was largely on that very issue. The state has adopted what's called the Common Core, which of course is national in scope. The Department of Education totally understands the issue, and of course it's not an easy one to solve any more than what we're doing is easy to solve. So they're on it, they're working on it. There's assessments that are being built out that are aligned with the Common Core standards, so there's a lot of moving parts to this. But I would say that two big things to take away. I mean, A, they get it, and everybody understands it, but two big things to take away. Number one, the more that you all can partner with districts in your area to support these messages, to get word out, to help, as Tricia's presentation around K-12 demonstrated, supporting schools, helping drive the message, supporting counselors, because a lot of the counselors in schools have caseloads of 500 students. So, you know, even when people understand it, it is what it is. So the various ways that we can support K-12, all the better. And equally, we're going to be turning to your campuses to serve on committees, and you've all been wonderful, so this is not anything negative, but we're constantly saying we need faculty, we're saying to DOE, we need faculty to serve on these important graduation committees, this, that, and the other. Thus far, every single time we've reached in and asked, you all have been absolutely wonderful with faculty advisory committees, populating those committees, but I cannot underscore how important that work is. So A, a huge thank you. B, we're going to continue to reach back in because we're saying over and over and over again the importance of faculty involvement as these graduation rules are built out and these standards are built. We've got to have K-12 at the table as that work is going on. So it's essential when we call and say we need faculty for y'all to continue to say yes, and here's who's coming. And so A, a thank you, and B, that work is absolutely essential. So you're right, it's not going to happen tomorrow. So it's an and. We continue to work on it while at the same time recognizing that, it's not going to happen tomorrow. So thank you. It's an excellent question. What else? Anybody? Anybody? All right, it's going to be a little risky to do this. Really risky to do. Oh, no, here they come. Come on in. All right, this is great. Perfect. You would have thought we planned that. Great. All right, I think TCSG's come on in, so we're ready. This is ideal. Okay.
We'd like to take just a couple of minutes to engage you, give us a little bit of feedback from the conference, highlight, low light, just a couple of comments.
You don't all have to stand at once.
We know you aren't shy. Susanna, come up here. Well,
Susanna Baxter with the Georgia Independent College Association. It is my honor and privilege to have been a part of these 2 days with you all and learning. It is such an exciting environment to be a part of, and I encourage you as you look for partnerships across the state to consider a private college that might be in your backyard as a willing partner. We're all rowing in the same direction, have the same goals of improving Georgia by improving our educated population. And so please consider us, and this was just a joy. I think I told you earlier, to think that the norm will be that business isn't as usual is refreshing and exciting, very entrepreneurial. So I applaud you all.
Others? Any comments about the conference? Of course, we'll be asking you to assess it later. I'd like to invite up Dr. Virginia Mikulich, who in a staff meeting this past week made some comments about what we're about that I thought were fairly insightful, and I've asked her to repeat that today.
You never know. It was actually to our Regents Academic Affairs Committee, and you never know whether what you say is a good idea or not, so I'm kind of glad to know. But I told them I have spent most of my teaching career in an access institution, and it is so wonderful to me to see the support at the top, at the level of the governor, the level of the chancellor and the commissioner, our academic leaders that are here, and all of you and the vice presidents and presidents and the faculty, because without that support from the top, if you're a group at an institution that wants to make a change, it's very, very difficult to move the needle. And I've been in the spot that many of your faculty have been in and are in, and wanted to see a difference for our remedial students. And now that I'm at the end of my career, I think it's actually going to happen. So thanks.
Thank you. Care to make some comments?
I think that one of the things that I find most exciting about being in higher education is that when you're surrounded, as we've been in the last day and a half, by such great thinkers who ask the very, very appropriate questions when presented with information and in helping to move things forward. That's what I find most engaging, and I think that's what we've had a lot of this day and a half, and I hope that we will take these ideas and thoughts and questions and queries back to our campuses as we are creating our plans. Talk to those who are not here, share your reflections, your ideas as we move this work forward. We know that the chancellor and the commissioner were very excited that we were going to have this activity, and we'll be glad to hear from you regarding your perspectives of what has occurred and what kinds of, as we've said before, what kinds of resources, what kinds of tools, what kinds of things you need to move this work forward. It's the right thing to do for the students here in Georgia and nationally, but as you drill down and get involved in looking at who your students are, what their needs are in terms of developing plans to help them succeed, know that, just as Virginia indicated, there are a lot of people who want to provide a lot of support to help you do that.
Thank you, Josephine. You know, as I reflect back on what's happening and why things are different today, we've heard throughout this conference that nationally what the issues are. We've seen our state government, our state leaders be interested and forceful in saying we must do a better job in how we approach higher education. And as Virginia said, to have all of this support is so unusual. So in my mind, the stars are aligned. This is our time. This is the one shot we're going to have to really make fundamental changes in how we educate young people and adults in the state. So I'm hoping one day we'll look back and say, and that all of us will be able to say, you know, we were at that conference in Athens when we started making the plans that changed how competitive our state has been in the past 10, 20 years, and why Georgia moved to the forefront compared to so many other states. So the ball is back in your court today. You've got a lot of work to do. We believe you can do it. We know you can do it. There's no way that we can do it for you. Each institution, each system is different, and it is those differences that make us unique. So we wish you Godspeed now as you return home and to your positions, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Our Chancellor and Commissioner will be wanting to be talking to the presidents and getting their feedback on how the conference went and what steps are moving us forward. So, adjourned.